From the oceans to the mountains, from the forests to the deserts, in love and war, in life and death, the deities are present. Hi, my name is Red No Blue, and today I'm continuing the list of gods that exist in the 5th edition of the D&D Faerun role-playing setting. When I say the gods that exist, I'm basing my knowledge on those gods currently listed at the back of the player's handbook. Whether it's due to bloat or perhaps due to a lore timeline not yet available to us, their worship has dwindled or disappeared. Regardless, it's unfair to them if we said that no other gods exist. This list is therefore composed of the common-centric gods, the mainstream ones, the ones that are worshipped by the populace of cities throughout Faerun and not limited to specific areas, cults or races. For example, you may note that Moradin isn't here, nor Bahamut, nor Grumsh, yet these gods all exist as powerful entities in the Forgotten Realms. We'll be keeping the details short. This isn't the video for the full history of each god. Rather, we'll be looking at the names and titles of each god, the aspects of the world that they have control over as part of their divine portfolio, and the dogma that the average follower and cleric of the god is expected to follow, and their appearance based on the 2nd edition, which has the most detailed info of the gods, interspersed with any changes from the 3rd and 4th editions. Also from the 2nd edition, we'll be taking a signature spell. Each of the gods had spells in that edition that were granted to heroes of that deity, unique in design and purpose, that were lacking in the 5th edition. It's not surprising, some of them were very powerful and we enjoy a great many improvements as the editions have progressed, and none perhaps should be as treasured as balance. But for this video we'll be taking a spell from the olden times and upgrading it to 5th edition. Now, some of the spells will be made by myself and I would advise that you check with your DM before using them, but others I'll be taking from the Blackstaff's book of 1000 spells, because a group of authors on the DM's Guild got there ahead of me and already transcribed many of the old magics to be used again in the modern era. And so, without further ado, let's begin. Mask. Master of all thieves, Shadow Lord, Lord of Shadows. His portfolio covers thieves, thievery, shadows. His symbol is a black velvet mask tinged with red, later symbolized merely as a black mask. Mask was the deity of intrigue along with being the patron of thieves, but read from a book divinely inspired by Cyric called the Serenachat. This book had the unerring power to force the reader to worship Cyric and worked against deities also. An avatar of Mask read the book and his portfolio was taken by Cyric, the god of thieves himself thought lost. In truth, however, Mask had sacrificed a powerful avatar and hidden, surviving but losing power as only a third of his followers still believed that he had survived somehow, the majority believing that he had been destroyed or subsumed. Over time, however, he has regained his power and deific status. Although Mask usually appears in one of his temples in avatar form as a sardonic, slightly built, human male clad in soft grey leather armour, wearing a black mask tinged with red and a black cloak, he may also appear as a soft-spoken human female with glowing pale skin, white starry lights for her eyes, and floor-length dark hair, who walks barefoot and is always shrouded in shadow-like gloom. However, being a god possessing the healthy thief qualities of paranoia and trickery, he can really appear as any humanoid, his signature ability being that no matter what form he takes, his footsteps and movement make no sound. Mask teaches that all that which occurs within shadow is in the purview of Mask. Ownership is 9/10 of what is right, and if a person happens to currently have something, it is his or hers. Previous ownership does not count, therefore the day belongs to the quick, the smooth-tongued, the light-fingered. Stealth and wariness are virtues, as are glibness and the ability to sound smooth-tongued and conciliatory while also taking control of a situation or twisting it to your advantage. Mask's spell is a curious one known as Listening Shadow. It's a level 3 illusion spell with a 1-round casting time, requiring verbal and somatic components. It lasts up to 10 minutes and has a range of 500 feet. When you cast a spell, a copy of your shadow appears adjacent to you, and can move across all surfaces up to the maximum range of 30 feet per round. It uses your stealth and perception modifiers, and rolls these with advantage but cannot enter the radius of a daylight spell or other such effect. When you spend an action to concentrate on it, you gain a dim sense of its location from you and the surroundings, but are able to hear all sounds as though you are standing at that location. The spell does not confer understanding of languages you do not know and will not move unless directed by you as a bonus action. The spell fades if you or it move farther than 500 feet from the other. In some ways it's like a clairvoyance or clairaudience spell, but a little bit better. You cannot see the source of the listening, of the part of the spell that listens, unless you're able to see the shadow. If you're in darkness, you're effectively invisible. My Leaky, Our Lady of the Forest, the Supreme Ranger, daughter to Sylvanus. Portfolio is forests, forest creatures, rangers, dryads, autumn. The symbol is a white unicorn on a green field, or a white unicorn's head facing left, or a tiny star, in olden times, of dazzling white hue balanced on an open, lush green oak or ash leaf. My Leaky is the Lady of the Forest, the goddess of the woods and those creatures who live within them. She is the patron of rangers in the same way that Ogma is the patron of bards. Until recently, My Leaky made her home on the prime material plane and so was unharmed by the Time of Troubles, though the presence of so many other gods in the realms gave her followers great difficulties. In the confusion following the Time of Troubles, she also gathered autumn into her portfolio away from the dead Mirkul. She is worshipped by humans, elves, half-elves, dryads, anyone who reveres nature. The Lady of the Forest is fond of wandering the woods of all of Faerun, although her faithful are concentrated in northern Faerun. My Leaky always walks on air, her soundless feet never quite touching the ground and thus leaving no tracks. She prefers to appear as the Supreme Ranger, a tall, shapely, robust woman who moves with a lithe grace, clad in the leather armor used by many rangers. Her garb is muted green and brown in hue, her russet hair hangs free about her shoulders and down her back, and her eyes are large, deep brown pools. My Leaky can also choose to appear as the Forest Queen, a young maiden with leaves and golden moss for hair, who walks the air garbed in sheer robes of green and yellow and is surrounded by summer songbirds. My Leaky's voice is a low, rich purr in whatever form she takes, and she sometimes appears with the antlers of a stag growing from her forehead, or slowly growing as mortals watch. However, Bashaba has taken the symbol of the black antlers, and so she does this less and less. My Leakians are taught to embrace the wild and not fear it, because the wild ways are the good ways. They are to keep the balance and to learn the hidden ways of all life. They would not allow trees to be needlessly felled or the forest to be burned. They are to live in the forest and be a part of the forest, not dwell in the endless battle against the forest. My Leaky spell is known as Wooden Sword, a second level transmutation spell that transforms a stick or twig into a levitating sword made of wood that flies where you direct it and attacks the targets you designate as a bonus action. It requires verbal and material components and lasts up to 1 minute. It deals 1d6 damage plus your spellcasting ability modifier, and can also be used to interact with a strength check equal to your spellcasting ability score for forcing open doors, knocking over objects, things like that. In that aspect, it's different to the spiritual weapon. Milil, Lord of Song, the Lord of all songs, guardian of singers and troubadours, the one true hand of all-wise Ogma. Portfolio is poetry, song, and eloquence. The symbol is a silver harp, often depicted as a 5-stringed instrument whose body is made of silvery leaves. Milil often appears as a young, charismatic male human or elf with handsome features and a voice of unearthly, haunting beauty. He most commonly appears as clean-shaven with shoulder-length brown or blonde hair. He dresses in the garb of a troubadour and favours bright clothing, elegantly patterned cloth, and gold or bejewelled decorations and jewellery. Milil can conjure weapons and items from midair and is considered proficient with any weapon he uses. He favours Sharp Tongue, a magical rapier that is +3 and has the abilities of a Sword of Quickness, which confers haste, and a Sword of Dancing when he uses it. He sometimes loans Sharp Tongue to people performing a great quest or service for him or his church, and in the hands of a mortal behaves as either a Sword of Quickness or a Sword of Dancing in a round, but not both, and obviously must perform as a Sword of Dancing if it is apart from his wielder. Novices in the Melilin faith are given the following charge. Melilin is really weird to say. Life is a song. Strive always to make it more beautiful. Destroy no music nor instrument, nor stop a singer before the tune is done. Listen to the world around as well as filling it with your own sound. One singer's music is another's noise, so still no bad music if its making is joyful. Spread the teaching of song and musicianship always. Sing to Milil every day. Music is the most precious thing a folk can create, so encourage its training, use, and preservation at all times and in all possible ways. Awaken a love of song in all folk that you can and offer its performance freely around campfire or on the trail. Cease not in your own seeking for new tunes, new techniques, and new instruments to master. The spell that I'm updating is one that fills me, as a DM, with immense joy. Dispel Silence. A 3rd level abjuration spell that requires an action to cast with somatic components only. It lasts for as long as you concentrate, up to 1 minute. It creates a zone with a 30-foot radius centered on you, and does not move after it is cast. Any silence effects are dispelled upon casting, and the silence spell does not function while the zone is active. I'm also changing the flavour of another spell based on the 2nd edition book, Faiths and Pantheons. There's a spell called Song of Compulsion that functions exactly like the 5th edition spell Enthrall, but for those affected feel they must complete a repetitive song first. How fun would it be to cast Enthrall as a cleric of Milil, but one where the victims feel compelled to do nothing but sing 99 bottles of beer on the wall? Merkul. Lord of Bones, Old Lord Skull, the Reaper, Lord of the Dead. Portfolio is the dead, wasting, decay, corruption, parasites, old age, exhaustion, dusk, autumn. The symbol is a white human skull face on against a black field, or a reaching skeletal hand in white on a black field. In previous years, either symbol was usually shown on an inverted black shield with a continuous border of white, stylized human fingerbones. Merkul, one of the dark gods, was the god of the dead, as opposed to the god of death, which is the province of Baal. His portfolio and his home in Hades, the Bone Castle, were both usurped by Sirik after the Lord of Bones was destroyed atop Blackstaff Tower in Waterdeep during the Time of Troubles by midnight. Later, Merkul's portfolio passed to Kalimvor when Sirik was driven from the City of Strife by an alliance of gods and denizens. With the Second Sundering, Merkul has once again rejoined the divine pantheons of Faerun. Merkul enjoyed appearing as a skeleton clad in a billowing black cowled robe and wielding a scythe. He had scaly, wrinkled skin covered with knobby lesions and black, cracked lips. His eyes gleamed with a cold, evil light and were so sunken that his face looked like a skull. His chest and torso were bare bones, and he had 4 bony arms, not the usual 2. Below the waist, his bones were covered by withered sinews and wasted flesh. He could fly about so that his rotting, gangrenous feet did not need to touch the ground. The Lord of Bones could animate or create any type of undead creature indefinitely by touch. All skeletons or zombies he animated obeyed him absolutely. Greater undead that he created were required to perform one service for him, and then were free-willed. Merkul could also automatically disrupt any undead creature of less than divine status with his touch at will, turning it into dust that not even he could animate. Merkul was immune to all forms of attack by undead creatures of any sort. The clergy of Mirkul were charged to make folk fear and respect death and the power of Almighty Mirkul himself so that no one stood against the church or tried to thwart its activities. Mirkul's priests were expected to spread the word that touching a priest of Mirkul brings death. They were expected to tell all folk that those in the service of Mirkul had perfect patience and could be trusted utterly, and then conduct themselves accordingly. Mirkulite clergy were to teach the stories of past and future Doombringers, mortals who had roamed the land avenging dead friends, masters, and bloodkin to whom they had sworn oaths, and slaying those who scoffed or held other gods supreme over the Lord of Bones. The spell I'm updating for Mirkul is the 4th level necromantic spell Corrupt. It takes an action to cast, or it can be completed as a ritual and use verbal and somatic components, and 50 gold pieces worth of diamond dust. Any healing potions or vials of holy water are affected if they're within 30 feet of the caster. Healing potion strength is halved, so that a 2d4 plus 2 healing pot instead does 1d4 plus 1, and the vial of holy water becomes just water. Characters within the burst who are carrying potions of healing or vials of holy water may make 1 charisma saving throw to avoid the effect for all. The corruption fades after the dawning of the new day and does not affect items in extra-dimensional spaces. Mystra, the Lady of Mysteries, the mother of all magic, Our Lady of Spells. The portfolio was magic, the spells, the weave. The symbol, a circle of 9 stars with a red mist rising toward or flowing from its centre, or a circle of 7 blue-white stars, or even older, a single blue-white star. Mystra is the goddess of magic, and with that, the goddess of possibility, which makes her possibly the most powerful deity in Faerun and throughout the realm space. She is said to have taught the first spellcaster of the realms, and to have enabled many of the races to use magic. She supposedly weighs and judges each new spell or magical item to determine whether it would be permitted into the realms. She is most venerated by wizards and those who use magic or magical items in their daily use. She differs from Azuth in that Azuth is the god of wizards, as to a much lesser degree all spellcasters, while Mystra is the goddess of the essential force that makes all spellcasting possible. She provides and tends the weave, the conduit to enable mortal spellcasters and magical crafters to safely access the raw force that is magic. Mystran advisors are common in Azuthian churches, and vice versa. Mystra was formerly seen by most mortals as a prismatic-hued will-o'-wisp. The new incarnation of Mystra, Midnight, prefers to appear as a beautiful human female with dark flowing hair and radiant skin. She wears simple but elegant, darkly coloured robes of the finest heavy silk, and a jewelled bodice clasp that appears to be a web. This clasp symbolises the magical weave over which Mystra is sovereign. Mystra can use any spell of any school or sphere ever used on Faerun. Choice, decision, and knowledge leavened with a healthy dose of good for the most individuals are the hallmarks of Mystra's faith. Magic is great power and brings with it great responsibility. Heard that before. Mystra's clergy are given the following charge upon aspiring to the faith. Love magic for itself, not just as a ready weapon to reshape the realms to your will. Learn when not to use magic, and you will have learned true wisdom. Play with magic and learn how best to wield it, but not when the price is paid by others. Strive to use magic less and less as your powers develop, not more and more. Often the threat and promise of art outstrips its performance. Remember always that magic is an art, the gift of the lady, and that those who can wield it are privileged in the extreme. Conduct yourself humbly, not proudly, while being mindful of this. Use magic deftly and efficiently, eschew carelessness and recklessness in the unleashing of art. When magic imperils you, hide it or hurl it away into other planes rather than destroy it, for any destruction of art is a sin. Seek always both to learn new magic and to create new magic, but experimenting to learn to craft something oneself is better than merely buying scrolls or hiring tutors. Exult more in creation than in hurling spells, and ensure that your creations are shared with others and so outlive you. Those who succeed in this last in maturing into true wisdom and consideration for the greater balance of things in Faerun and in the use of art are most favoured in the eyes of the lady, and it will serve her beyond death as beings who have become one with magic and live on in it forever. The spell that I feel I have to use is a 4th level spell named Any Spell. It has a casting time of 1 action, verbal and somatic components, and a unique material component. This spell grants you the ability to cast any one spell of your choice from the wizard spell list, provided it is a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th level spell. As part of the action used to cast the spell, you must read the spell you intend to cast directly from a scroll or a wizard spellbook, or the spell fails. Reading from a spell scroll in this way does not use the spell scroll. Once you cast any spell, the spell you chose and read can be cast any time until the end of your next turn, using the required casting time and components. Therefore, spells that take longer than 1 round to cast are usually not suitable choices for this spell. To cast the chosen spell, you must still expend a spell slot of the appropriate level. Ogma, the binder of what is known, the lord of knowledge, patron of bards, the wise god, and probably one of the patrons of Candlekeep. Portfolio is knowledge, invention, inspiration, bards, and the symbol is a simple blank scroll. Ogma is the most powerful god of knowledge in Faerun. Much as Mystra of old is said to sit in judgment of each new spell, Ogma is said to decide whether a new idea would be known to the world or confined to its originator. Daenerys and Malil both act as intercessors for Ogma, carrying new information both to him and to those whom Ogma favours. He is on good relations with the artificer god Gond Wanderbringer, who serves him by giving ideas manifest in form, but their relationship has sometimes been tense due to Gond's proclivity to press for the rapid introduction of new devices throughout Faerun. Ogma is a cheerful and wise power whose ability to persuade others to his point of view he puts to endless use. He may be solemn and righteous, but he is more often quietly humorous and quick to smile. His one flaw may be his fondness for his own thoughts. He tends to implement rather convoluted plots that he has worked out first in his own mind, rather than to take direct action. Ogma is rarely seen, but has been known to appear as a dark-skinned, handsome man in bright, grand, stylish clothing, typically including a tabard with projecting ornamented shoulder plates, a cummerbund that bears a painted scene of exquisite beauty on its medallion-shaped buckle, and open meshwork, point-toed shoes, whose uppers end in crystal teardrops that dangle down almost to touch the upraised toes. That's quite an image. This form usually carries a guitar of white snowwood. I kind of think that maybe he walks in with his guitar and his wild outfit and goes, "Oh hey, yeah, don't call me the Lord of Knowledge, that's my dad, just call me Ogma." His dogma is that knowledge is most supreme, particularly in its raw form, the idea. An idea has no weight but can move mountains. It has no height, but it can dominate a nation. It has no mass, but it can push aside empires. Knowledge is the greatest tool of mortal kind, outweighing anything made by mortal hands. Before anything can exist, the idea must exist. The spell of Ogma that I'm using is called Impart Knowledge, a 2nd level divination spell with a casting time of 1 action and somatic components only. You touch a creature and impart it with specific knowledge that you choose. The knowledge appears as images accompanied with phrases from your memory or from your own knowledge. There are 2 different durations depending on the knowledge you impart. For simple conveyance of information, the duration is instantaneous, and the creature you touch can learn information that you know about a specific person or subject. Alternatively, the creature you touch can temporarily learn one skill that you are proficient with. For 1 hour, the creature is also proficient with that skill. Severus, the All-Seeing, Lord of Divination, he of the third eye. Portfolio, Divination, Fate, Truth. The symbol is a crystal ball containing many kinds of eyes. Severus speaks in clear, precise statements and rarely says what the listener wants to hear. He always speaks the absolute truth, and in cases where the truth is a matter of perspective, he reveals all sides of the truth. Understanding is a 3-edged sword. There is little compassion or emotion in Severus's demeanour, but when Severus loses his temper, his wrath is dreadful. He is portrayed as a man with a crystalline face, clear to all who see him. Severus teaches that the blindness of mortals is the origin of all folly. Search for the truth in all things, great and small, and conceal nothing. Speak only the truth, for lies and misdirection, even for benign motives, are the root of all sorrow. Be not paralyzed by indecision, but take no action without analyzing the implications. Hasty actions and decisions are really more beneficial than well thought out strategies that are revised as necessary. Kind of really encouraging the analysis paralysis from a certain type of gamer, but Severus doesn't have any spells listed in the original book, but I'm going to give him a spell called Lair Divination because it helps with the decision making of the aforementioned adventuring party. It's a 4th level divination that takes an action to cast with verbal, somatic, and incense material components. You focus on the location that you know about on the same plane of existence, gaining insight into the relative strength of creatures guarding the area and the amount of treasure stored there. You do not gain any knowledge regarding the number of creatures or the exact amount of treasure, however you do gain a sense of the overall challenge and reward levels based on your party's strength. A Dungeon Master has free reign in determining the results of the spell. For example, the DM could state that the spellcaster has a feeling that the dangers are more dangerous compared to another location the characters have previously explored, but the rewards are also better. Selene, Our Lady of Silver, the Moon Maiden, the Night White Lady. The portfolio is moon, stars, navigation and navigators, wanderers, seekers, good and neutral lycanthropes. The symbol is 2 darkly beautiful human female eyes surrounded by a circle of 7 silver stars. Selene is a caring but quietly mystical power who seems saddened often by events perhaps millennia old. While she is normally calm and placid, her war with Shar is fierce, with neither side giving or receiving quarter. She is seen in many ways by her followers, who are a diverse group, and she is at times effervescently joyful and active, at others maternal, quiet, and almost poetic, and yet others warlike and fierce, showing little mercy to her foes. Before the time of troubles, Selene had served Sune for centuries, after being independent for millennia. But after the Gods' War, she went her own way again. But her relationship with Sune and Lyra is still extremely friendly and cooperative. Selene often has a calm, placid nature, but the specifics of her personal forms change with the moon. Sometimes she appears as a dusky-hued, long-limbed woman with wide, radiant, lime-green eyes and knee-length tresses of ivory-white hair. And sometimes she is a ghostly lithe form with dark hair and eyes but robes of white that trail moon motes. At other times she appears to be a fairer but matronly woman of middling years who dwells among mortals from time to time, most recently as an innkeeper in Waterdeep. In time with the moon, Selene is continually either growing to full glory or aging and dying, but this change is only an outward appearance and does not involve any diminishment of powers, at least as far as dealings with mortals are concerned. When the goddess is pleased, she causes moonlight to bathe the wine or milk poured out on her altar and transforms it into moonfire, an opalescent, glowing, soft as silk, ambulatory fluid mass, the consistency of custard. There is an image. The moonfire flows down the altar to touch or envelop beings and items. Its touch can destroy undead and enchant objects to make them magical items for the use of Selenite clergy, and confers special powers on creatures. Moonfire vanishes when Selene wills, and bestows power as she wills. Those who steal it gain nothing, and there is no known means of forcing it to yield up a specific power. Typical magical items Selene creates with her moonfire include braces of defense, moon cloaks, moon motes, potions of moon healing, rings of shooting stars, and other magical shields. Moonfire created braces of defense, in addition to working as other such braces, allow their wearer to dimension door once a night from one moonlit place to another. A moon cloak is a silvery grey cloak that combines the powers of a cloak of protection with water walking and can levitate at will. A moon mote is a round, smooth stone that can become dancing lights upon command under the directional control of whoever is holding the mote, range and duration for the effect are as if dancing lights were cast by a wizard. Potions of moon healing restore 44 plus 4 points of damage to injured mortals and can be split into 4 doses that cure 1d4 plus 1 points of damage each. To natural or infected lycanthropes, potions of moon healing restore 8d4 plus 8 points of damage or yield 4 doses that cure 2d4 plus 2 points of damage each. Moonfire can also bestow magical powers upon mortal worshippers of Selene under special circumstances. Selene's ethos seems to be one of acceptance and tolerance over any other overriding principle. All are made to feel welcome in her faith and seen as equal, and fellow Selenites should be aided freely as if they were one's dearest friends. May Selene guide your steps in the night and bring them to the new dawn, is the common blessing of priests of Selene to the faithful. The spell I'm uplifting for Selene is Moonblade, a 3rd level evocation spell that takes 1 action to cast, and requires verbal, somatic, and material components. It lasts for as long as you concentrate to a maximum of 1 minute. You cause a glowing white blade of force to spring from your hand, and the blade can take the form of any bladed weapon you are proficient with. You can attack with the blade using your spellcasting ability modifier instead of the normal ability modifier used for the attack. If you score a hit with the blade against a living creature, it takes 2d8 radiant damage. If you hit with an undead with the blade, it takes 3d8 radiant damage. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 5th level or higher, the radiant damage increases by 1d8 for every 2 slots above 3rd. Selene's eternal foe is the evil goddess Shar, and she battles her ceaselessly on many planes of existence, both through mortal worshippers and servitor creatures. The undying enmity between the two goddesses predates the existence of most, if not all, of the present-day existing Faerunian deities. The enmity between Shar and Selene carries into their priesthoods, such that open battle often occurs when followers of each faith meet. Shar, Mistress of the Night, the Lady of Loss, Night Singer. Portfolio: Dark, Night, Loss and Forgetfulness, Unrevealed Secrets, Caverns, Dungeons, and the Underdark. The symbol is a black disc with a border of deep purple. Loss is the nature of Shar, one of the dark gods. She is a deeply twisted and perverse being of ineffable evil and endlessly petty hatred and jealousy. She rules over pains hidden but not forgotten, bitterness carefully nurtured away from the light and from others, and quiet revenge for any slight, no matter how old. She is said to have the power to make her devout followers forget their pain, yet what occurs is that they become inured to the loss, treating it as a common and natural state of being. The basic inanity of life and foolishness of hope are the cornerstones of Shar's being. She revels in the concealed, in that which is hidden, never to be revealed. She can always clearly perceive any being, object, and act performed within darkness. Shar favours 2 forms, the Night Singer and the Dark Dancer. The Night Singer is a 12-foot-tall presence whose female form is masked in feathers of all sorts that trail away into an increasingly intangible cowled cloak of gigantic proportions that merges into any shadows and darkness present. She sings continually, even when simply speaking, and her song is hauntingly beautiful and tragic. The Dark Dancer is a 7-foot-tall, lithe, exquisitely beautiful human woman who dances gracefully and alluringly, her jet-black body sparkling with stars and her 2 dark eyes hypnotic orbs that can emit both harmful and beneficial gaze effects. Paging the Elder. Dark followers, what they call the Faithful of Shar, are instructed to reveal secrets only to fellow faithful and to never follow hope or turn to promises of success. They should quench the light of the moon, the faithful of Selene and their holdings, deeds, and magic whenever they find it, and hide from it when they cannot prevail. Above all, the dark should be a time to act, not to wait. Faithful of Shar are not supposed to hope and are therefore forbidden to strive to better their lot in life or to plan ahead except in matters directly overseen by the clergy of the Dark Goddess. Consorting with beings of good alignment who actively serve their deities is a sin unless undertaken to take advantage of them in purely business dealings or to corrupt them from their beliefs into the service of Shar. Devotees of Shar must not speak out against clergy of the goddess, nor interrupt their devotional dances for any reason. Lay worshippers must prove their faith by obedience to the clergy and by carrying out at least one dark deed ordered by a priest of Shar every year, or bringing at least one being to believe in and worship the Dark Goddess. I'm choosing to uplift a Shar spell known as Dark Bolt, a 5th level evocation spell that takes an action to cast with verbal and somatic components. It lasts as long as you concentrate to a maximum of 1 minute. You summon one bolt of dark force that immediately streaks towards a target you choose within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, if the target is a living creature, it takes 5d8 force damage and it must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is stunned until the end of its next turn. If a target is undead, then it doesn't take the force damage, but it must make a wisdom saving throw or be stunned until the end of its next turn. At the start of each of your turns for the duration, one more bolt of dark force appears. You can use an action to make a ranged spell attack with the bolt at a target you can see within range. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 6th level or higher, the force damage increases by 1d8 for each slot level above 5th. Oh, and it has a range of 60 feet. And we're going to leave it there for now because we've used a bit more time than normal to delve into the powers of some of the deities a little bit more in depth than normal. We'll pick this up next time, and until then I hope everyone does well. Remember, knowledge is not power, it is only potential. Applying that knowledge is power. Understanding why and when to apply that knowledge is wisdom.